Welcome to the Beer Guys radio show in living color. We are here, Brian.
Yes.
We're drinking beers. We're going to talk about beers. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. I feel like my mic is extra sensitive today. Like if I get off of it a little bit, it's not taking much to miss me.
Okay. I mean, you sound about the same to me.
Okay.
I think I sound about the same to me, but
my mic discipline today.
Brian.
We've
been having like audio stuff, like
technical difficulties that it's one of those things with electronics that you cannot change anything or do anything and they'll just totally
go and just inexplicable. Like why is it suddenly different?
The camera's losing connection. We get a little spinny wheel. The audio is wanting to be too loud on our video recording. And everything looks good.
We'll fix it all soon.
We'll fix it soon.
It'll all.
We're going to go Office Space on it.
Yeah. Yes.
That would be fun. That's satisfying. That kind of stuff is satisfying.
Yeah, the Mevo wouldn't last too long. That it's just too small. We might need to buy. We need to buy a second one so we can properly Office Space it, tape them together.
It is about the size of a baseball, so we could do a little pitch and smack there. So.
I don't know how many pitches we would get out of that.
One good hit, and it's done, man. It's done. Have you ever seen? I don't think they lasted very long or very popular, but there were stores or places you could go and like they would have a bunch of dishes, windows.
Yeah, you could just
place you go to smash stuff up.
Take a hammer, like a hammer room, and you could just. They would sometimes have cars in there too. You could just pound on a car. You know what? I always wanted to do one of those, but I don't. I forgot about them. Like I don't know if they're still even a thing. I imagine there's still. There's got to still be somewhere right? There. Yeah, because it would seem like once you did that one time, you'd probably need to do it a lot. Like it would. Like, I feel great. I'm like I need to go back.
Do you go to therapy? You're like, yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Hammer therapy.
Yep.
What?
Yep, I do frequently. Helps me out a lot.
It seems like that would be a lot more satisfying than punching a shrink's pillow or whatever you do and
laying on a couch and talking,
or primal scream therapy, which I've heard is a thing too.
Okay,
yeah, I think I'd just rather pound on some
smash
inanimate objects.
Good. Yeah, that would be fun. Cool. Well, we're gonna get into some radio here. You got any questions or comments? Leave them in the chat, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes to chat with you.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys radio show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys radio show. We are broadcasting from the Beer Guys radio studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week, we'll talk about a lot of stuff, Brian.
Yes.
We got all the hot topics out here right now. We're going to be talking about beer news, current events. I think there's some drama in here. So I think you're going to expand a little bit on that. Right, Brian?
I am, Tim. Yes.
That's good. Well, I'm Tim Dennis. And of course, Brian Hewitt's here with us. Brian, how in the heck are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing better now that the coffee's kicking in a little bit.
You got a coffee and a beer, right?
Yeah, I do. Yes. And I like that combo. I do that a lot. Yeah. So
don't you sometimes like a coffee and like a chaser with an IPA or vice versa? You dig that, right?
Oh yeah. That's great. That's when you're tired, but also you want a beer like I am right now. It'd be perfect. Now it's a coffee and a Berliner, but that still works pretty well too.
You should do commercials for some of these breweries that do coffee roasting.
Yeah.
You know, if you're tired and you need a coffee, but you want a beer too, come see.
You've got two hands. There are two beverages here. It works out.
So works out. If anybody's listening that wants to take advantage of that sponsorship, just give us a shout.
And I'll be there to do it. I'm happy to do
stuff.
That. So Tim, we're going to talk about beer scandals, as you said, whether or not beer is good for you, the problem with cans, that's beer cans, artificial beer intelligence, and a lot more. It's going to be a show full of beer intrigue today.
It is. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Brian, you know what? We had a pretty good weekend last weekend here in Atlanta. Weather was gorgeous, and we got out to one of our favorite breweries, Halfway Crooks, and they did their Kolsch Fest, Brian.
Yes.
And part of Kolsch Fest was a Kolsch service in their newly updated beer garden. Not quite done yet, but they have expanded it, changed it up there. But Brian, what are your thoughts on Kolsch's and Kolsch festivals?
I love Kolsch service a lot. I like a good Kolsch, and I think the concept of somebody bringing a Kolsch around you, a fresh, like 20 centiliter, is that what it is? A 20 centiliter of fresh Kolsch as soon as you run out. That's genius. It's beautiful. It's a small amount, so it never gets too warm. It never loses too much carbonation, and so you can just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to worry about flagging somebody down. All you got to do is tell them to stop when you're ready to stop. And you know what? That's hardly a problem, really. So
it's a non-problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're fantastic. And I think that, I think a lot of places should do them. I think even bars could do them. Especially if you're sitting at the bar, you've got a Kolsch tap, and just say, hey, if you want this, we can do this for you. It might be a little bit more of a problem some places if you're not at the bar, but I'm like, why isn't this a thing more places? Maybe is there a legal consideration there? I don't know. So
I guess there shouldn't be. They're serving a beer. They mark your coaster that, so.
And we're talking small amounts of beer.
Yeah.
So it's
low ABV beer at that.
Exactly. So. Yeah. It's better than you sitting there knocking back quads or whatever, know?
My idea, Brian, was the robotic Kolsch service. So, Japanese have the automatic beer pouring thing figured out already. And I know there's restaurants that have robot servers. So I feel that it would be an easy transition to just have a robot bringing Kolsch's around.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So that's it. I'm saying it here on our show, so I have a record of me saying it. That way people can't steal it. So that's it. This is me trademarking it, copyright and all that right now.
Well, I'm going to trademark
patenting, maybe
trademark, copyright, whatever. The idea of a Kolsch restaurant where there's a conveyor belt that runs through the place,
the Kolsch conveyor,
and all you do is you grab a Kolsch off the conveyor belt, and if it's within the zone of your table, it knows to bill that to you. So nobody has to mark anything. The Kolsch is coming by, you just grab one and maybe put your other one on the thing. I don't know, and it'd be perfect.
I feel like Kolsch would go pretty well with sushi.
Yeah.
So there's already places set up. They could just add Kolsch to the belt.
Just throw the Kolsch on there. And if it goes around like once or twice and it's like, it's been out there too long, you pull it off, put another one on there. Kolsch isn't that expensive. No big deal. It's and you're at a sushi Kolsch place. So why not? Like German sushi joint, basically. Right?
German sushi. Well, why don't we just go all the way with it? There's a conveyor with like sausages and Schweinhaxe. And
yeah. And sounds good.
He's coming to life over there.
Yeah. I'm waking up. I'm waking up.
Now, Brian, one thing you did for us this week, as you are our Twitter meister, is you started a thread and put as many of the April Fool's jokes from beer companies in there for all of them. So what was your favorite out of what you gathered?
Well, one of my favorites was, and I don't even remember who did it. I'm not as familiar with the brewery, but I saw it out there, so I grabbed it. It was a one sip challenge beer that was based upon the one chip challenge, where it's super nuclear hot beer, and you're supposed to. And it's like, don't drink this beer. You shouldn't buy this. Whatever. It's like perfect. I wish this was a thing because I can think of all the videos of people who have done other dumb challenges and they record them and put them online. So I like that one a fair amount.
Okay. Fair enough.
Did you see any that you particularly enjoyed?
I have a confession.
Yes.
I hate April Fool's Day in beer.
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of them are played out. Like this year, there were a couple that people didn't go far enough. And it's like, well, that's actually already a real beer.
Yes. Like Founders in the pickle beer. I'm like, guys, that's weak. Look around. It's been done a lot.
And I think it was Genesee that did Kolsch Cumber.
Yes,
I think is what they called it. And that actually they got enough response from it that they're like, well, we realized that maybe we didn't April Fool as hard as we thought we did.
They had some R&D people looking into buying, like, was it like 1 million pounds of cucumber and trying to figure out how the logistics would work to actually make it because people wanted that. I'm like, because you came up with an idea that wasn't zany enough. So there is a fair amount of that. I think it's kind of like Super Bowl commercials without the Super Bowl. So if you think about it, the Super Bowl commercials are frequently just lame. But every now and then there's a good one and you really enjoy. And it's kind of the same way, just no game to attach it to.
What were some of the others you thought were pretty high performers there?
You know what? I'm trying to think I'm kind of drawing a blank. You know what? Somebody had I think they had a liquid IPA thing that turned out it was something Miller had done, but it was meant to turn things into an IPA.
The drops thing, like we got with the
and I responded,
light.
and I was amused by that because that was actually a real thing that had been done the previous years, but that was a real thing that was a joke. And I think that was an April Fool's thing that was a real thing, but that was part of the joke. So I don't know if it really counts or not, other than we tried it and it was bad. And I just enjoyed responding to all of them with my snarky takes on things. So
okay,
I liked it, and I think a lot of people enjoyed looking at it.
I think a lot of people do. I think I'm the Grinch in this one. You know,
you're not alone. There's a lot of people that said there were a number of comments on various beers, and I think Kolsch was one of them. It just was like, I hate April Fool's Day. Yeah. Because they liked the idea of the beer or they didn't. And the fact that it was not a real thing and they were seeing it annoyed them. So I get it. If there
was one I had to pick that I thought was pretty good is Microphone. Their stout smells like bean spirit. They used to do it just in 750s.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, people said, hey, we need a smaller package for this. So I think you put it in tall boys. He's like, and they're like, what? That wasn't enough for you. So, coming soon. Airplane bottles of smells like bean spirit.
That's right. Yeah.
And in all honesty, I'm not opposed to an airplane bottle of bean spirit. A little taster of stout there. Yeah, let's do it.
And some people were talking about this is basically R&D for like zanier ideas breweries have, which is one of the responses to Kolsch. Like let's take our craziest idea, which for some of these breweries is pretty tame, and see what people think. And if enough people say, yes, I want this, then hey, they've got a product, and they could say, well, it was a joke. Now it's becoming a real thing.
And it could have been a fact, Brian, that they said that they're like, let's test the waters on this.
Yeah.
That was intentional. They're like, all right, we're not going to go too crazy here, and let's see what we get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tim, I think we should do the beers of the week.
Brian, as always, we've got a lot of good beers to drink. We're going to talk about this one we're sipping right now a little more in the future, but halfway Crooks, when we went down to the Kolsch Festival, we got the Berliner Weiss, and it's phenomenal. From Crooked Stave, we've got a little something from the cellar. We have Nightmare on Brett, around 2016-ish, we think, on this. We couldn't find the exact date on the bottle. And that is a dark sour aged in Leopold whiskey barrels. And, of course, Brett going on there. We also have Highland Brewing Wishing Star Cold IPA. So we'll see what's going on there. And from Founders, we have Sweet Repute Brian, a bourbon barrel-aged wheat wine, which I know you are a fan of. Y'all, before we have to break here, I have a big announcement that we need to share in regards to the Beer Guys Radio Show. So starting as of April 15th, Beer Guys Radio will end its radio run. So we've been at this 7 years now. We've had a good time. We've had some growth. We're going to move on to a next chapter. We will still be available as a podcast. So if you listen to us on the radio, please go to a podcasting app and subscribe to continue getting the show, because as of April 15th, Beer Guys Radio will no longer be available on your favorite local station. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. That is one fine Berliner Weiss.
That is quite nice. It's delightful. Delightful, as I like to say about my beers.
Yes.
I think that's, you know what, and it probably is because I imagine a little bit because it has a touch of the Brett character to it. That's my favorite Berliner of all time, I think.
I have to say, I agree with you, especially for just a base Berliner. I want to throw some fruits in it, Brian, because I like rolling like that, but it's really good just as is.
I mean, nothing's stopping you other than we don't have any fruits in here to throw in there.
The lack of fruit will indeed stop me from doing that. So
we have the little squeeze bottle that we used in the Borg, because that would ruin the flavor, because that was just gross.
Where's those Miller Lite drops? Let me see if I can get this tasting like Miller Lite.
I think I still have some of those, because I was experimenting a little bit with what if you drop a little bit in this or a little bit in that, and there's not nearly enough of it to really be that allow for much experimentation. And honestly, it's just not that good, so I don't think it's worth the time.
Yeah, Rich, thanks for the comment, man. So this is something we thought about for a long time, and we're actually excited about it. We feel the podcast. We will have more flexibility with it. We'll talk about it a little more on the show going forward. We just wanted to make that quick announcement right now. But in all honesty, we just didn't think radio was the right place for us with our topic and where we want to go. So actually a positive thing. We've got some more surprises up our sleeve. We're working on kind of a facelift for things. So yeah, we're excited, Rich, but thanks. I appreciate it.
I think that all of our traction is in the podcast.
It is.
area.
I think that's it. You know, with where we are, target demographic, age groups, all that good stuff. I think the podcasting is where we need to focus our energies. So it was cool being a nationally syndicated talk show radio host, though. So that was fun.
Well, I mean,
they can never take that away from us.
That's
Brian.
right. Yeah. So, it's forever in my LinkedIn profile for
whatever
there, that's man. Worth.
It's there.
Yeah, that's that's one of those things. When I was a much younger person, I thought, you know what, that would be awesome to be on the radio, and I was, and it was pretty damn cool. So
it was something I always thought is cool, but never thought would happen. You know, just like oh, that seems cool, that seems fun, you know, that kind of thing. So
but it's fun, but the future is podcasting, Tim.
The future, and our future is so bright, we have to wear shades while drinking our beer.
That's right.
So, yeah. Thank you, Nate. Y'all, once again, if you are in the Atlanta area, get down to Halfway Crooks while you can and grab their Berliner.
Flaschen beer.
You know what that is?
That's table beer, right?
No.
Flaschen? Or is that glass beer or something? Bottle beer.
Beer.
Flaschen. It's been a little while. Beer. I did take like a year and a January term of German, so I know almost enough to really get myself in trouble. Really.
Yeah, but that's good stuff, man. Probably definitely the finest Berliner.
Yeah, I like it. As we were talking about,
what else? I don't think yet. Maybe the cold IPA next.
Oh, is that not cold enough? Because it
you want it now?
No.
I was just thinking but I'm not even ready for this yet. I've still got, you know what? It looks like we've all got pretty full. Are you ready, Brian? You want it on the table?
Yeah, we can put it out there. We can put it out there. Do we just have the one? I guess it doesn't matter. We don't need more than one.
Not right now. We don't, but I think there's one more in there.
Okay.
So
we do have a 750.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I'm asking. I'm like, well, how much am I going to drink of that really? It's been a long day. That's all I can say. And beer gives me strength. People say Guinness for strength. For me, it's just in general beer for strength. Yes. Let's see. So we starting off with talking about the Berliner when we get in, or we just going into the first story?
Yeah, let's see. Hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta.
Tim's still doing work.
I am. Yeah, I didn't want to touch it, but this is something that requires it. Okay. All right. Cool. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, let's come in and talk a little bit about the Berliner and we'll roll from there.
Okay.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Shake it back!
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to the show.
Brian, as I mentioned, as we were exiting the last segment, we're sipping Berliner Weiss from Halfway Crooks Beer in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Summerhill neighborhood.
Yes.
And I share that for anybody that's a baseball fan. Summerhill is the old Turner Field.
That's right.
Area. And Turner Field has been sold to Georgia State. And that whole neighborhood is going through the very controversial gentrification. But it's hopping down there, Brian. There's an ice cream shop and a tart shop and a barbecue place and a pizza place. And of course, Halfway Crooks. And everything down there is pretty much best in class for what they are, or at least close to it.
Yeah, the barbecue and Little Bear and all those places like that.
Yeah,
unbelievable quality has just kind of descended on that area. And I'm not sure if that was an organization thing or just a coincidence, but or if just the quality of one thing attracted the other quality purveyors of other things, or if everybody feels the need to step up their game because, well, you're next to Halfway Crooks, you're next to Little Bear, you got to be on top of your game if you're going to compete. So
you can't come in halfway down there. So if you find yourself in the Atlanta area,
you can if you're a crook,
right? That's right. Go down to I didn't even think about that. That wasn't intentional, but go down to the Summerhill area. But this beer, Brian, best Berliner I've ever had.
I'd probably agree with that.
Would you agree? And I get it's the tart, it's lightly tart. And I notice some people, they don't care for that. They want that really bracing tartness.
Yeah.
I like the lightly tart there. As you commented, some of them can get a very yogurty taste. That's not here. Floral, maybe hay. There's some complexity to this that you don't get. Like some Berliner or Berliner style, you may just do a quick kettle sour, even lactic acid in some of the fruited ones that they may do. But this one's got some complexity and depth to it. And it's just a very, very fine Berliner.
I agree. It's got some Brett character, some really light Brett character that I like because I love Brett, still do. And it like the aroma, it's got a little the lambic kind of like there's a little bit of a lot of things going on there, and I really like it. It's like it's a hazy lambic, a hazy table lambic.
A hazy table lambic. I like that new style you just
right. It's a new thing.
And it's very thirst quenching. It's very nice on the palate there. So anyhow, shout out to that beer. I'm going to say that's our featured beer this week. We got the whole beer list. We're featuring this delicious beer. 1 thumb up from me.
I'll give it a thumb up. Yeah.
Nate, 3 thumbs up.
3 thumbs
up. 3
up.
thumbs up. That's the highest rating you can get from Beer Guys Radio.
That's right.
Yeah, good stuff. Brian, what in the world is going on in the world of beer?
Well, I mean, the big thing happening, and you probably heard something about it. It's been kind of a question, so it's taken a little bit of investigating. What the heck is going on with Bud Light? I'm like, a lot people are wondering what that is, and I saw a lot of people angry about it. But the thing is I looked at Budweiser's main accounts and their Bud Light accounts, looking at social media, trying to figure out where is this coming from? Because what I heard is they had a new spokesperson named Dylan Mulvaney, who is a quote trans influencer, and those aren't my words. That's just what the articles were saying about it. And the new face for Bud Light, and there were cans pictured with Dylan Mulvaney's face on it. I've never heard of this person before, so I have to keep referring back to it to make sure I don't mess up the name. So I'm like, what's happening? Has this ever happened before? I went and looked. I'm like, okay, Bud Light's had other faces on it. They had Post Malone, and I think regular Budweiser had Biggie's Notorious B.I.G. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, well, so this kind of thing has happened. Well, here's the thing. What everybody seems to think is going on isn't really what's going on. According to an official statement I found from Anheuser-Busch, Anheuser-Busch works with hundreds of influencers across our brands as one of many ways to authentically connect with audiences across various demographics. Now, this is a quote here. From time to time, we produce unique commemorative cans for fans and brand influencers like Dylan Mulvaney. This commemorative can was meant as a gift to celebrate a personal milestone and is not for sale to the general public. So the thing is people are very angry about fake news. How crazy is that? In this day, in this era,
I'm not surprised.
People being angry about fake news. So this was this exploded, but it apparently is something that Budweiser is doing for a brand influencer. So
well, and like them saying they work with a lot of influencers out there, this isn't necessarily a spokesperson if you're talking someone who's going to do a lot of stuff. And I'm going to say, for them to say an authentic connection, I'm going to question that a little bit. Here's why. It was the video that Dylan did on her Instagram or TikTok.
I think it's TikTok.
Was a March Madness thing. And the whole shtick of the video was, I heard there's this March Madness thing coming up, and I thought it was just a crazy month, but it turns out it's about basketball. So it was played into something I know nothing about, but hey, enjoy some Bud Light. So authentic, I don't know, but I think if they wanted to partner with Dylan and amplify trans rights and what she stood for, they probably could have picked something better than March Madness to do that with.
Probably.
But the thing I'm loving the most about this, Brian, is the ridiculous response from people about it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of so to begin with, a lot of people are saying, "Hey, we're dumping all of our Bud Light. We're going to Coors Light," and then people are quick to show that there's a like rainbow Coors Light cans and all this other sort of thing, and various history supporting things that they might also be angry at. And you have to check in with Chris Rock occasionally to see what he thinks about a thing.
Chris Rock or Kid Rock?
I'm sorry, not Chris Rock, Kid Rock.
Okay.
Got to check in with him. You know what? Chris Rock hasn't said anything about it that I'm aware of.
Not that we know.
I'm waiting. I'll let you know if I hear anything. But Kid Rock decided to express himself with a rifle and shot a lot of Bud Light cans that he had in some back forested area. And he said something to the effect of F Bud Light, F Anheuser-Busch, and have a terrific day. Now, he didn't specifically say anything more than that, but I think he made his thoughts really clear. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun to see how crazy people get over something that's it's a face on a can, for crying out loud. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's a face on a can.
It surprises me how quickly triggered. Look, I'll be honest with you. The folks that are getting triggered are the ones calling others snowflakes all the time.
It's true.
I'm just going to say that. But I also love that on the Kid Rock one, they're already making memes of it. And there's one for those that are 110 years old, the movie The Jerk.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, he hates these cans. They've got it all on there. So.
That's good stuff. Yeah, it's gotten really crazy. So will this affect your purchasing of Bud products? Anheuser-Busch?
No.
Yeah,
Bud. It's not going to affect my purchasing of Bud Light for sure because I don't buy Bud Light.
Yeah,
wait, does that apply to Clamato or to their Micheladas?
Yeah, I guess it could.
It's still not going to affect it. I'll buy one if I want it.
Yeah, and my thought was, and I'd forgotten that they make that. My thought was, it's not going to really change my buying habits because I don't really buy a lot of Budweiser products or Anheuser-Busch stuff. I buy like Goose Island stuff occasionally, the stouts, but honestly, in Leffe, I occasionally buy Leffe. I'm still probably going to occasionally buy both of those things.
And the bigger picture overall, Brian, is I don't care who they sponsor or who they go with. And I think let people be whoever they want to be if they're not hurting anybody else in what they do it. I'm not offended by this. If this is what Bud Light did for the marketing, that doesn't offend me. I'm not. So it wouldn't affect me because I'm not offended by this and let them do their thing.
I wonder if people would have been as irritated about this had they known what really was happening. It was apparently just a private thing, like that we gave this person special cans. Nobody's going to see these on the shelf. They're not for sale. So is there anything really to be angry about anyway?
Well, some of these snowflakes get pretty triggered.
It's true.
On their AR-15s.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian, people are always, there's certain people that will get mad about things on both the left and the right, or any topic of conversation that can have two sides. There's going to be someone that would get upset over it. There's people that get upset over Starbucks coffee cups at a certain time of year.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Just a lot out there. It's just kind of the way it is.
That's another situation where it doesn't affect me because I don't really buy Starbucks coffee either. So
whether my coffee cup says Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas or anything else, I just don't care. I don't have time to be bothered.
Bring a pen and write it on yourself.
Sure, put it on there. Do what you got to do. Well, you are listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. It is time for us to take another break, but we'll be back right after this.
Yeah, that's part of the radio show now. FYI.
Oh yeah.
Tim does air guitar to play us out.
I think I was late enough with it. I can cut it. I can just chop it off the end there. Chop.
I didn't mean for that to take up an entire segment, but it is full of interesting intrigue. And we didn't even talk about it showed up on Twitter. It's not an account I actually follow, but apparently there's a rumor going around that this wasn't an official decision. This was somebody in lower end management, and the executives are angry about the whole thing. They wouldn't have approved it, but they didn't know about it. I don't know if that's real. It was on Twitter. So
yeah, who knows, man? Like we said, people be getting mad.
Yeah, they do.
People be getting mad about stuff.
Really interesting to follow and see. Like when you get Kid Rock doing the crazy stuff, they're like, oh, this is getting entertaining now.
True.
Got a few comments.
Hot dog beer. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
No one can April Fool's that one. We'll let them know, Kyle. If that comes out, we'll let them know about that for sure. Tyler, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Cheers to Texas. Thanks for tuning in. Steven, Pete, always good to see you. Cheers from Kettle Rock and to Kettle Rock.
From and to.
Steven, I missed it if you did, but did you do an April Fool's joke this year? Brian, do you know? Did you see one from Kettle Rock?
I don't recall seeing one, but I was mostly on Twitter. So if it wasn't happening on Twitter, I did see some people post things after the day from Instagram and other places. Yeah. So like, yeah, I live on Twitter basically. That's kind of my place.
Are you still using Mastodon?
I've got an account there. That's no, because
are you still using something you're like, I'm like, okay.
It's there. Noted. I thought about it, but there's nobody there.
It's so hard to get. Like there was one, I forget what it was called, but a few years ago they came in and they had some angle. I think their thing was sharing media, like not just like pictures and I don't remember, maybe music samples and all that, or I don't remember sound pieces, but they wanted, they're like another one that's like, hey, free, open, do this and that. I'm like, I just don't like signing up for these, man, because it's so hard to get people to adopt a new social platform. Sometimes I sign up for them just so I can secure a good username, just in case they do get popular in the future. Then I can jump back in.
That's what I did with Twitter. It looks like he did have.
I remember seeing that now. Yeah. Okay.
Dehydrated beer with alcohol, and that was a story that I forgot to include in this week's show's notes, but there's a German brewery that made a powdered non-alcoholic beer, which that's interesting. Yeah.
Is it like Alka-Seltzer to get your carbonation in there?
I guess because when they make it, it looks like it foams up and you get head out of it. So I'm guessing somehow
I would try it, and I with 90% confidence can say
it'd be bad.
I don't think it would be good. Exactly.
Probably be bad. So powdered dehydrated vodka, I guess. Could being
high ABV there?
Was hiking the Appalachian Trail. Oh,
all right.
Are they trying the non-alcoholic powdered beer?
Okay, cool.
Well,
you could slide you a little bit of some kind of spirit in there if you wanted the alcohol.
If they could figure out a way to do it well, like the coffee, the instant coffee. If you could have instant beer, imagine you take a jar of instant beer someplace with you, and you've got, if it were good, you've got beer for weeks and weeks and weeks, because those little jars of instant coffee, they last for quite a long time. So
yeah, gotcha. I am there's a situation going on at the day job right now, and I'm getting texts back and forth, and I just want to give a shout out to my coworker Mark, because Mark knows that I do the show on Wednesday evenings. We record our live stream, so he's taking care of business for me there. So shout out to Mark, my coworker, for taking care of business.
He's working. He won't see this, Tim.
No. He won't. No, he is working, but I still am going to say it, and then I'll tell him later I gave you a shout out on my show. So
for taking care of business, TCB.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think.
Did you see I added some? I put them in red so you wouldn't miss them. But did you see I added some notes to a few of your things?
I did. Yeah. Okay. I saw the. You mentioned the Coors Light stuff with the very. Yeah. So I mentioned that, and the one that you linked to, I still want to see what the video was, and it was. I could never find it on
the Reddit video.
Yeah. Even with that plugin, it wouldn't show the video to me.
Was that that link that was removed was the one I had shared? I didn't know that. Okay.
It revived some of the comments that were apparently deleted, but it
was a guy who he looked like he lived on a big like ranch or something. And he went into like his bar area and he pulled a 12 or 30 rack or whatever, a Bud Light out, and put a Coors Light rack in there. Then he went out to his shop and he did this. He shoveled all the Bud Light into a trash can and put Coors Light in there. And then the very end of the video was like 30 clips of Coors Light at Pride parades and saying out is cool, out is phenomenal, and all this. So he swapped it out for Coors Light because he didn't like the LGBTQ stuff, but Coors is like super gay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they've been the one comment I did put there is they've supported Denver Pride Fest for over 20 years and that. So, if Coors Light is your substitute because you don't like the LGBTQT stuff, Coors Light is not the right one to go with.
Yeah, that's because I'm not sure. I think at this point, if that's something that irritates you, I think you're gonna find most beers are going to have done something or will be doing something like that at some point in time.
Let's be honest, if it's a mega corporation, no matter what the individual feelings of any of the executives are, the company is still going to take that stance. That's just it. That's the corporate move there. So
that's at this point you have to, honestly. So
we may not see a rainbow Chick-fil-A. That
probably
may be
not.
That may be one exception, but for the most part, large corporations.
If they are ever open on Sunday, I bet you we do though.
Yeah,
and that change
that
in
would
ownership.
be God's rainbow if they did that.
Oh,
I'm sure
that could be it. Yeah,
there's people mad just at the rainbow, just because they say that
like when they go outside and it's been raining and they see a rainbow, they shake their fist at the sky.
Yeah, even the sky.
Yeah. Not you too, Sky.
Yep. And the Skies are like, you know it.
Yeah. Hush.
We don't mean that offensive. We want you to know that. No, we're not. So we're making fun of the people that have the issue.
I think that's clear, Tim. Hopefully. We'll never know.
All right, let's move on to the next beer.
Okay. Yeah, let's get the
this was really good. And one more shout out for Halfway Crooks Berliner Weiss.
Delightful.
If you missed us rambling about it earlier. It's been a while since I've drank a full beer in the studio, like during the show. That seemed like a lot of beer for some reason. That didn't even come close to working out right.
Yeah, you didn't pick the best glass for as kind of your decanter there.
It's what I had available.
It's a soup bowl over there.
I'm working with what I got.
All right. So
thank you, Nate. Appreciate you. Little something from our friends at Highland.
Indeed. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I'll make it work. I'm good, man. Thank you.
The little bit of water isn't going to make it any blurrier than it was already.
That's right. That is exactly right. Not for me. I took a picture of a bottle earlier so I could zoom in and read it better, and my picture was out of focus. I'm like, that figures.
Is that you tapping it? Because put that can right there.
Right here is where this goes.
Put that right here. You're done. I'm glad IPLs are finally popular. That's tasty. Yeah.
Little is it? I get a lemon.
Lemon?
A little bit of lemon and lime, I would say. I'm getting on that.
Wonder if it says on the can what hops they used.
Oh, I dig that.
Yeah, that's good.
So see, there is a little bitterness there, Brian, but it's not too sharp, and it actually dissipates fairly quickly. That's fairly clean.
And it's a
grass,
pretty crisp, grassy.
Grapefruit.
It lingers. The grassiness lingers a fair amount.
Lemon, lime, grapefruit, maybe a little grassiness.
Yeah.
Slight bitterness. Clean.
I thought I saw it. Strata hops.
Okay. All right. Can I see that can, Nate? I want to refer to it.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I think I am. Where are we coming in? Just the next thing?
Yeah, we're going to come in. I'll talk about Wishing Star and then toss it over to you for the next story.
Okay. Sounds good.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys radio show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, WRMN 1410 AM in Elgin, Illinois. Catch Beer Guys Radio on WRMN every Saturday at noon. Now let's get back to the show.
Well, I do want to throw out there with us ending our radio run, it is possible that some of the stations we shout out may have ended our broadcast early to get other stuff in there.
That's possible.
We hope you hear us. And again, if you're a listener on the radio, subscribe to the podcast.
But we still do appreciate those affiliates for all the years they carried us.
It was a good time.
Yep.
Brian, we've got a new beer in our glasses here. I only made a slight mess getting mine. But we have Highland Brewing Wishing Star, which is a cold IPA, Brian. And what do you think of this one?
I think it's quite tasty. A lot of citrus character to it. It finishes grassy. And my thought is man, I'm glad that IPLs are popular.
IPLs, yeah, call it what you want, folks. I dig this one too. It's very clean. There's a little bit of bitterness, Brian, but it stays within my bitterness threshold. So I'm good with it. I get lemon, lime, and grapefruit. I would say all of those citrus fruits are present there. No orange. I should make that as there's no sweet orange in there. And the grassiness, clean on the palate, real good. But I should disclose Highland sent us some samples of this. So thank you so much for Highland. And if you get Highland in your area, we can recommend Wishing Star Cold IPA. I believe is this another 3 thumbs up beer?
I think
beer
so.
guys.
Well, yeah,
we got 3 thumbs up again.
Yeah, that's good beer. So far, so good. We're batting 1,000.
All right.
Yeah. All righty. So let's talk about the next thing. The other big thing that's happening this week or has been announced this week is Diageo is closing down the Guinness Open Gate Brewery in Maryland. And they will cease production later this spring, cutting 108 jobs. But the Innovation Brewing there will continue on site at a 10-barrel brew house inside the brewery's visitor center. So the main production done. And the people involved with that are gone, but a little bit of Innovation Brewing for whatever that means. They are keeping the tap room open, and I think there's a restaurant involved in that too. So it's not completely shutting down, but the brewery itself is. This first Guinness production brewery in the U.S. since 1954. So it's been a long time since they had any actual brewery ownership in the U.S. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It opened up in 2018. It cost them $90 million. But even in spite of this happening, they're still planning to open Guinness Open Gate Brewery in Chicago this summer. And so my thought was initially, like, are they just relocating without actually relocating the people? But I guess not. It sounds like it's the new place is more of a brew pub size place. So it's not really a full production type of thing. It's really a much smaller kind of maybe like a chain of tap houses now with a Guinness theme instead of being full production breweries. Based on some really dated stats, Chicago drinks more Guinness than Washington, D.C. or the Maryland area. But interestingly enough, based on those same old stats, Atlanta has Chicago beat in terms of Guinness consumption, if you can believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I could see Chicago. We know that's an Irish town.
Yeah.
So, not surprising.
Yeah, and Boston beats everybody, actually. That's probably a lot more expensive if you are going to open up a production brewery. But if they're going with more of a brew pub tap room kind of model, maybe Boston gets one. Yeah. Maybe Atlanta gets one too. That would be awesome.
That would be. Yeah, and I hate, it's kind of hypocritical of us saying that because Guinness really is big beer. Diageo, big beer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I do like Guinness, and I don't know why, but I don't quite look at them the same as I do some of the others. Maybe I should. You know what? I need to research Diageo some to see if I should hate them.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
That's marketing success is what that is right there.
Yeah. But that was my first thought when they talked about the new brewery opening, as I had seen news recently about opening in Chicago. My first thought was, wow, that's big that you shut one down and open another. But someone did point out to me, like, well, not quite the same scale there. So kind of different beast.
Yeah. And in the official news that I read, I don't have quotes here with me, but it was very much, the closure was very much a big beer, like closure. Diageo was this, that, the other thing, and the profits and considerations, expenses and whatnot. It was so high end corporate big beer that it's, there's no feeling of Guinness involved in it at all. So this is very much a higher up decision about performance of the production brewery. Okay. So that's what you get when you get big beer. So,
well, Brian, one thing I was thinking is I'm sitting around having a beer, I've become more concerned with my health recently, but is beer even healthy for me?
Depends on who you talk to, Tim.
Yeah.
I've got 2 stories this week, about beer being good or being bad for you. The first one, according to Atlanta's Piedmont Healthcare, is there are 4 reasons beer is good for you. Beer is more nutritious nutritious than most alcoholic drinks, specifically compared with wine, which wine is generally considered to be the healthy one. Beer has more antioxidants. It has more protein than wine, more vitamin B, contains iron, calcium, phosphates, and even fiber. And they don't even mention the probiotic benefits of wild ales. So beer can also reduce your bad cholesterol. And I think that has to do with the fiber that's in beer. So it's may be beneficial to maintaining healthy blood sugar levels. It can protect your heart. Apparently, one study said moderate beer drinking is associated with lower rates of cardiovascular disease, and moderate drinkers are less likely to have a heart attack or stroke than non-drinkers.
Okay.
It may also help prevent kidney stones. Apparently, moderate drinkers are 41% less likely. Moderate drinkers are 41% less likely to develop kidney stones thanks to the phytochemicals in hops. So that's all from the Piedmont Healthcare out of Atlanta.
Okay.
Love those guys. On the other hand, this got
Counterpoint.
The New York Times published an article this week as well, based on a new analysis of 40 years of research, and they've determined that many of the studies were flawed or completely wrong over those 40 years. It looked at over 100 studies, and many of the studies were considered observational, and they could not prove cause and effect. Basically, there was a correlation between two things, and they implied causation when there wasn't necessarily any.
Right.
They did not account for other health habits and advantages of the people that they were studying. So it was purely, do they drink beer or do they not? Not, do they run? Do they sit around? I mean, do they smoke meth? I mean, none of those things. The studies did not account.
Which could be important.
Yes.
In these studies.
Some of that stuff could be very important. The studies also did not account for heavy drinkers who gave up alcohol and became non-drinkers. So if you had a heavy drinker for 20, 30 years who gave up completely, they've done whatever damage they're going to do from the heavy drinking. The stats related to them should not be piled together with the non-drinkers that have never touched the stuff.
So, Brian, one thing I think of when we talk about this is I'm not as involved as I was, and I don't think you're even as involved as you used to be in the cigar world.
Yeah.
But having a 90-year-old cigar maker that smoked cigars nonstop and had a few drams of rum or what have you every day was not uncommon.
That's true.
So and one big thing for those that don't know, most cigar smokers do not inhale.
Yeah.
So, and cigars are pure tobacco as compared to cigarettes having a lot of additives in that. Not saying cigars are healthy for you, just that there's a lot lower prevalence of these serious deadly cancers there.
There's a lot more old timers in that industry. Yeah. And old farmers from Central American countries. So like perhaps not even with the best healthcare environments, they're still making it up into their 80s and 90s. They're in pretty decent health.
They're cured like leather from the smoke and the sun and all of that.
All the sun and smoke. Yeah. Those are some leathery guys.
But I say this, and in all honesty, on the cigar side, it may not even be moderation, but having a couple drinks in this, I'm going to say that most things in moderation, Brian. And I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or a god or anything, so I can't speak to any of this. But I think if you're having a couple drinks a day, you're probably your body's going to be able, barring any other conditions, pre-existing conditions.
So the interesting thing about this article is they said that basically they were refuting the claim that moderate drinking was better for you than non-drinking.
Okay.
They're saying that there's statistically no difference between non-drinking and moderate drinking, which means that they're saying, well, it's not good for you. You shouldn't drink. Say, well, you shouldn't drink it because you think there's going to be health benefits. But if you really enjoy the flavor of beer, or you really enjoy a nice buzz or whatever, or it helps you calm down at the end of the day, it makes life a little bit better, by all means, because if you do it with moderation, statistically speaking, it's not, according to this anyway, I'm not a doctor either, or a god, like you said.
Right.
It's statistically, there's no real difference between you having a few and not having any at all.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, and again, that could apply differently to people with different issues there, but
true.
As a generality, it's interesting, and I don't think we will ever stop seeing articles back and forth as far as it's healthy, it's not. It's
we never
will be that way. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
It's just like with coffee and eggs. They go back and forth. Coffee's bad for you. Coffee's good for you. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are good for you. Why is it beer, coffee, and eggs are the things that we gnash our teeth about? We're like losing our minds about these things, but other things, for the most part, just, I guess, like people in generality speak of carbs being.
When I was a kid,
they don't go back and forth over it.
When I was a kid, there were these little Saturday morning bits. Like one was like Bill on Capitol Hill. Do you remember that one? I'm just a Bill.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm only a Bill. But there was one, beans and rice are nice. Yeah. And now, they say, oh, white rice, it's, it's an empty carb and do this and that. But you look at a lot of cultures are very, very, very rice heavy, and they're healthier than Americans are. So who knows, man? Cheese, eggs, red meat, fat.
I think the people who say rice, was it beans and rice is nice, like you can't refute it if you've had red beans and rice. That is pretty nice.
They're right.
That's quite nice.
That is nice.
Like, prove me wrong. Yeah. I need that thing. Prove me wrong. Red beans and rice. Very nice. Yeah. Change my mind. That's it. That's not prove me wrong. Change my mind. Yeah, changed my mind.
Beans and rice are nice.
Change my mind. That's got to exist somewhere already.
I bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that meme.
I would not doubt that in the least.
I'll put that on Twitter.
It does. So
that'll be my hot take
today, Brian. It was a busy day, so I didn't get a shave in. I just threw a hat on, ran out of the house. Well, that's okay.
Well, when you walked out the door when I was coming in, I thought I was seeing the intro scene from Cocaine Bear for a second.
It was roar.
No, yeah. Roar. Like, oh, it's Tim. No, all right. He just hasn't had a shave.
I came here to eat cocaine and murder people, and I'm all out of cocaine.
That's right. I think that's a line from the movie.
It probably is. I want to see that. I want to see that because it looks stupid. I want to see it.
Yeah, it looks dumb. There's the guy that stars in it, one of the main characters. I recognize him, not the bear, not the bear, the other main character. That's the real star of the show. I saw a video that he put out on, I don't know where it was, but it showed up on Twitter, and it was pretty funny. It's like, what do you need to know? It's like, all you need to know is there's a bear and he does a lot of cocaine. I'm like, all right, that's good point, fair point. That's all I need to know. I'm sold. I'm in. I am absolutely in. And apparently based on a true story, and I think it happened in Georgia, didn't it?
So I know there's one that happened in Georgia. Someone's claiming one happened like in Kentucky or something too. I'm like, what is the likelihood that two bears found a bunch of cocaine?
Cocaine Bear too.
Yeah. So, but I do know apparently the cocaine bear.
The cocaning. Anyway,
the cocaning. Be afraid. I believe the real cocaine bear was taxidermied and displayed somewhere, and then like purchased and moved. Maybe he was displayed in Kentucky then, but apparently the real cocaine bear is stuffed in somewhere, but he's not in Georgia. I do know that, but I think the story is from coastal Georgia that some smugglers dumped a bunch of cocaine from a plane because they were being caught, and this bear happened to find a duffel bag full of coke.
It's like, oh, what's this all about? Let me try this out. See what I think.
I've never tasted cocaine, so I don't know if it's like, if you got a taste of cocaine, you're like, I have to eat this whole duffel bag. So,
well, if it ruptured when it fell down and he got a little sniff of it, he may have been feeling like, oh my God, this smells really good. It must taste even better. And by the time you've tasted it, now you're out of your mind. So
I think I may have mentioned this in our previous discussions of Cocaine Bear, but I saw a comment someone made online one time. They're like, for a brief moment, he was the most dangerous apex predator.
He was the apex predator. Yeah. Sharknado, he would have taken that down.
Oh, just
eating all the sharks. Yeah, it would
torn it to pieces, man. That would be fun. Now see if this happened today, because apparently it happened 90s or something. It was a long time ago. But if that happened today, there's cameras everywhere. There's a good chance we may actually have footage of that.
Yeah, I wonder now. You know what I was gonna say? Maybe they do have it. No,
we'd have seen it. No, we'd have seen it by now.
I'm sure it would have been. That would have emerged with the news of the movie coming out.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah,
we love you, Cocaine Bear.
Didn't we have also like a murderous Winnie the Pooh thing that came out too? Around the same time. I think there's a killer Winnie the Pooh movie that came out too.
I thought you were joking, but someone did do that, didn't they?
There's a weird fetish with like murderous bears parody. Right now. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. What other animals can we get?
I don't
We've already
know.
done Jaws.
Yeah, sharks have been done to death, but bears, like murderous bears, we don't have that many of them. I think not in a while. There was some survival or like hiking father-daughter thing where a bear hunts them and they getting away, and it wasn't that long ago. It predates a Cocaine Bear by enough that it's not part of the trend, but it was a pretty suspenseful movie. I saw that was not bad. But
You ever seen something that you know is totally stupid, but it just hits your funny bone the right way?
just like on a daily basis, basically.
There was a thread the other day. It said depluralize a movie title, and one of the answers was Jaw. See,
that's after the movie when they find parts of him on the beach or something like that. Oh, it's Jaw.
I'm sitting here going, why is this hilarious
Jaws?
to me right now? Jaw. I want to see the trailer for it. Maybe it's a guy from a profile and he's got like a super underbite,
or just like it's just a jawbone floating in the ocean. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Probably. It'd probably be terrible.
All right, I need to take a quick break, and then when I get back, we can rock and roll in radio.
Yeah, I was just thinking about possibly doing an intermission. Yeah, should we do an intermission? Because I'll run out and use the.
Sure, y'all. We'll be right back. Give us 3 to 5 minutes. We'll be back to see you
right
soon.
back. Before we lose our guys here. All right, there we are.
We guess who's back again. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend.
Cocaine Bear's back. I was just thinking there needs to be an entire line of different animals on cocaine, like cocaine Chihuahua, you know.
Dude, that thing, it's seriously, that thing would be wicked.
It'd fly. It would just fly. The vibration of the animal would have it hovering.
I got stories related to Chihuahuas.
Cocaine Chihuahuas.
So my aunt had a Chihuahua many years ago, and one of my uncle's friends had a son that he had special needs of some sort, but y'all, he was evil. He was evil. To explain, I got to go later in life. Him and his brother had bunk beds, and he was on the bottom bunk and fired a pistol through the top bunk with his brother in the bed because he thought it was funny.
Whoa.
That kind of evil. Okay. So we're setting the stage here. I swear to you, when they were coming to visit, that kid could be 2 blocks down the road and that dog would start barking and shivering and crawl under the couch. And there were at least 3 or 4 different times when that dog started acting weird, and within 5 minutes they showed up. So evil spirits, Brian.
They say, you know what they do say? They do say dogs know what's up. And like if a dog has a really strong reaction to now, some dogs are just little buttholes, and they bark at everybody.
I think you wanted to use a different word, but I know.
Yeah. But in cases like that, especially the whining and the shivering and all that, I'm like, oh no, there's something. That dog is smelling something wrong. I'm like,
well, that's what I always thought it was just an evil aura, but very well that if he was 2 or 3 blocks down the road, that if he had strong pheromones or scent, that dog could have smelled that. So
murderous pheromones.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since I've had a beer like this, a dark sour.
Brian, do you need to curate your final stories? Do we have too much for one segment? You just go with what you feel good with, whatever you feel in your heart.
In my hearts. Okay.
Yeah.
We start with the I'm honestly just going in order. I mean, and whatever we get to, and whatever we don't. Pretty zen like that.
This one's not getting 3 thumbs up.
You're not into it?
It's a little brutal, a little sharp.
It's
vinegar.
If my nostril hairs are already curling up when I smell it, it's a little harsh.
Yeah. It's developed with time, and it's
it's developed with time.
I don't hate
into
this.
Vinegar. Okay,
I don't hate this, but
it
gets
one then. All right,
it gets one.
It's intense though. Yeah, do we want an alternative beer?
No. Let's be real. Let's keep it 100, Brian. No cap.
You know what? I did forget to wear a cap, but wait, you've got one, so you can't say no cap, right?
You have no cap.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
You're saying it to me, so that makes sense. It checks out now.
I think that's the way they use it. The kids.
I'm sure that's 100% the way the kids use it.
All right, let's do this.
That is really intense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Beer Guys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag, commercial-free episodes, and access to our brand new Discord server. Now let's get back to the show.
Brian, we are back in here. We got us a new beer that we've opened up here. We have Crooked Stave Nightmare on Brett that we believe is from about 2016.
Probably.
Brian, give me your take on this beer.
It's intense. It's got a strong acetobacter kind of I believe that's the Flandersy vinegary type of tart to it.
Okay.
It's a little too much, I think, but I like where it's at. I expected more of a Brett character to this, and I don't know that I get that. I think I get I think acetobacter is the thing.
I get very strong vinegar with maybe some winey characteristics, dark fruit.
Yeah, dark fruit wine. Yes,
It's a punch in the mouth. It's sour.
It's very sour.
It's intense. So Brian, does this one get a thumbs up from you?
I'm gonna give it a tentative thumbs up. Back in the day when
or no?
Yes.
Do you give it a thumbs
Yes.
up? Okay. No Mike Nate. No thumbs up from No Mike Nate. Brian, I also cannot give this one a thumbs up. So this beer is 1 out of 3 thumbs from the beer guys. And I will say this is a 2016. Beers change over time, but where it stands right now in its current state, too intense, and the vinegar taste drowns everything else out.
I think that back in the day, around 2016, when really bracingly sour beers were hot, I think this would have been loved by a lot of people.
Okay.
I suspect.
Good.
It is intense, and back in those days, in the years preceding it, I would not have liked a beer like this, but I do actually kind of enjoy this. I think I would need like Tums after drinking this.
The Cascade beers were pretty strongly sour, but they had a lot of fruit and sweetness there that kind of carried it along.
This has some nice dark fruit notes to it, like wine and dark fruit. I'm like, I think as it warms up a bit,
it's like a red wine vinegar.
Well, I guess. Well, vinegar's tasty though. Well,
yeah, give me some fish and chips, and
there you go.
I'll use it on there.
Well, we can make that happen.
Make a vinaigrette. Have us a little salad. Yeah,
there's all kinds of options here.
Yes.
All right, Tim. So, did you know that there is a can recycling problem? Craft beer has a can recycling problem.
I did not know that, Brian.
It's surprising, the stats, but how many aluminum cans, what percentage of the aluminum cans that are produced for craft beer are actually recycled every year in the US?
7%.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you went really light. It's only half in the US.
I'm impressed with
50%.
Way to go, US.
In the place where this study, this evaluation, in the place where this evaluation of the recycling program took place in Colorado, they are looking at a much lower number. It's surprising because Colorado's pretty progressive and they're recycling friendly. Just 16% of their cans are recycled, and so there's some reasons why do you think that the cans would not be recycled?
Just laziness is my main thing. Is people just not taking the time to do it.
Yeah, and you know what? That probably is part of it. Just throwing them directly away. And there's no real markers on cans these days, and there's no indications of messaging where people say, "Hey, please recycle our cans." For the most part, cans, I don't know if it's assumed that you'll do that,
I think people just think aluminum's recyclable, right?
Yeah, and so it's very rarely will you see a can that has it, or it's in any kind of recycling logo. Is a very small thing on the can. The other thing is, and probably a bigger thing, is the plastic shrink wrap and adhesive labels on cans. It turns out that these labels and shrink wrap can cause the cans to be identified as plastic by sorting sensors at these recycling plants, and it will kick them out. It'll kick them into the plastic bin. And when it does that, it contaminates the plastic recycling, and this stuff winds up in landfills because of it's miscategorized, and the plastic with it is also mixed into it. So that causes a real problem. Cans that don't get kicked out end up causing problems for smelters. So when they're melting down the cans, they wind up getting this plastic in them. And the best case scenario is the plastic melts and gets into the atmosphere. So it's like this nasty pollution that goes out there.
That's the best case scenario?
Yeah, well, I guess that's maybe not the best case, but for the smelters, it's the best case. Otherwise, it just gums up the works of their systems and they have real problems with it. So there are some solutions to the problems. One is obvious, like people need to stop using shrink wraps on their cans, which may not be practical for smaller brewers. Recyclers need to come up with a way to remove these automatically, these shrink wrap labels. They haven't figured out a way to do that yet, but there's a third alternative. It's to use a perforated tearaway zipper label shrink wrap cans. And I've seen these, I think locally Creature Comforts has done this on some of their beers, where you'll see you can actually rip a strip off of the can and you can recycle it without the shrink wrap on it. The thing is there needs to be education for people to realize they need to do this, because most people are just going to grab the can and throw it directly into the recycling and never think about that. It's like, it's there, but you need to tell people to do that before recycling.
Yeah.
So,
and to not just to do that, but people may see that and say, "Hey, tear this off," and think, okay, but they may not realize that the reason you have to do that is because it can mess with the actual ability to recycle.
if you're attempting to recycle them and you don't tear that thing off, if it's available, then that can is basically probably not going to be properly recycled.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's a big problem. So another big story, another interesting story is Big Beer, AB InBev / Bex is getting into artificial intelligence. They're going all out with it. They're using Chat GPT to create a brand new Bex beer called Bex Autonomous. They used it to create the recipe. They came up with a 5% ABV Pilsner, which seems a little less creative than you would expect from AI, but maybe that's what they asked for. I don't know. Chat GPT came up with the name of the beer, the complete marketing campaign and imaging, the beer packaging, and the beer packaging is interesting. It's going to come in a hybrid container that's half glass and half aluminum. I don't know if that means the can or the box that it comes in. It was a little unclear, but AI came up with that too. And so it's going to be an experimental release. You may not see this. You probably won't see this on shelves, but fans in the UK, Germany, and Italy can sign up on Beck's special autonomous website for a chance to win some starting on April 12th. So
I love that the most creative that it could get with the beer was like a 5% lager, but it's like, we're going to mix aluminum and glass.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would expect, like, is this a smoked Pilsner? I mean, what have you done interesting with this? Is this heavily dry hopped? Is it? And there was no indication of that. But
so here's my guess, not knowing anything and talking totally out of my rear end, is that Chat GPT probably looked out there at the average of everything it looked at, and that beer probably fell within that average. If it also found like half of the beers in bottles and half of the beers in the cans, the average of that may be, let's have a glass and aluminum packaging.
I really want to see the packaging because that seems like the most creative portion of it. The fun thing is even seeing the kind of like boring concept. I saw them in the press release saying we've always been on the cutting edge of innovation. Like, your cutting edge of innovation is a 5% ABV Pilsner. Come on,
get crazy.
So speaking of other fun things that have been released this week, Elon Musk's Giga Beer was finally released. It was announced in late 2021. It's also a 5% ABV Pilsner, but this one is about $32.70 per 12 ounce, 330 milliliters. Is that about a 12 ounce?
Like 11.11. So yeah. So,
and they come in a 3-pack.
Wow.
Yeah. So
all right.
the $33 for basically a 12 ounce Pilsner. It uses proprietary cyber hops. The angular bottles have text that glows in the dark, but unfortunately for fans of Elon locally or domestically here, it doesn't appear that this ships to the US. So it's made in Germany by, I forgot to write down the name of the brewery that does it. But so I'm surprised there's no Doge or Doge coin or anything on there anywhere, because that seems like it. But honestly, I'd consider getting some just because they're cool bottles. And also it's
neat.
Yeah,
it's neat, Brian. And sometimes that's all it takes to get into something there, right?
Indeed. Yes, indeed. So one last thing, we've got our friends at Athletic Brewing are poised to become one of the top 15 breweries in the country by 2024. They produced 170,000 barrels of beer in 2022, putting them in the Brewers Association's top 20 by volume for 2022. They killed it in dry January. That was their biggest to date. They sold 17.2% of the national total non-alcoholic beer sold to off-premise retailers in January, according to Nielsen IQ. And in the last month, Athletic Sales would rank them 6th in the list of craft breweries by volume sales in the U.S. So they're just absolutely killing it. The non-alcoholic beer segment has grown over 5 times since Athletic started in 2017, and it shows no signs of slowing down yet. So
good stuff, man. Congrats to them, man. They make a quality product. The NA sector is growing.
Yeah,
despite what others say, it's growing, and it's good that it's out there. For those that can't drink. I found out we've got an NA cocktail bar in Atlanta. I think a couple others are focused, but NA cocktails, and this place does kava as well. I didn't, I've never went to a kava bar, but
is that like kava, or is that?
Yeah, I think so. And I guess it's brewed. I looked at it and I forgot already, to be honest with you. I'm like, is this a hot beverage, a cold beverage? But it looks like they did it in a few different ways, and go have a big kava and chill. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I have messed around with the kava stuff, and it's typically room temperature.
Chill, man.
Doesn't
All right.
taste great, but it'll give you a little bit of a buzz.
Crazy stuff. Well, y'all, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Come back and join us next week. We will still be in the studio here, live streaming, 7 o'clock Eastern. So, nope, I got to start over. I messed it up. I can't say that on the radio. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Join us next week for more hot craft beer talk. If you need some your fix during the week, join us on the socials. We're Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Cleary.
All right.
Clear.
I saw you laughing about something. What happened? Did I do something?
You did the thing you
Don't
always
tell
do.
him now
Okay.
because we're live.
Okay.
We can talk about it later. Think that's it, y'all. We're done. We're gonna chill. We hope you enjoyed the show. Come back and join us next week, and we'll do it again. Week after next, we're gonna be at a beer festival.
Yes.
So we're gonna go to Little Beer Fest and celebrate all those low ABV beers. It's gonna be a good time. But y'all have a good one. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.